situation.
Speaking of payments, payments in leasing compared to buying, what are there huge variables, big differences, not so much?
Well, if John could bring up that a slide, we have a slide where it kind of has a lease loan comparison. But if you take the vehicle price, and when we talk about terminology, that would be in leasing terminology a capitalized cost, and your vehicle price is negotiable.
Okay.
You don't want to let people in dealership lead you to believe, don't worry, we'll just worry about the payment.
Right.
Your payment's based on the vehicle price. So I mean that's the beginning.
That. So that's a key
first
point
of all,
for a consumer.
negotiate your price.
Okay.
So in this case, it's $23,000 versus a lease or a loan. Down payment would be the same all the way through, and in leasing, you do not have to put a down payment.
Okay, I was going to ask about the.
That's one of the benefits of leasing. You don't necessarily have to go into a down payment. However, down payment, like buying, reduces your monthly payment. Okay, that's what it's for. Interest rate would be the same, but see, in leasing, there's a value put on that vehicle, what the leasing company or the financial institution feels that vehicle is going to be worth at the end of that lease.
2 or 3 year, whatever.
So the residual value, or in other words, the payoff on that loan lease at the end, in this particular example of $11,000. So in a lease, in that particular example, you're paying back $12,000 plus the cost of money at 6%. Versus the whole $23,000 on a loan.
Okay.
So if you look at the payment, with only paying back $12,000 plus interest, your payment's $388. Versus in a loan for 36 months, your payment's $669.
So it's near. I mean, it's nearly double.
But in that particular case, you're paying your loan off at the end. You own the vehicle, you have equity.
You own that residual value, and that is then the equity that you have in the vehicle.
Basically, yes. And if you take that loan out for 36 months. Now people say, well, I don't know, I can't afford $669.
Right.
And they may, stretch their payment for 72 months. Now you see where a 72-month loan is pretty comparable to a 36-month lease.
Right.
So people say, why don't I own it?
Right.
Well, even in a 72-month buy, you never really own it until you've owned it, until you've paid for it.
After 72 months.
Because you have to pay the bank, So in the leasing part, if you like to get into a vehicle every 36 months, this way your payment's pretty comparable to a 72-month buy. You can turn it in, walk away, get another vehicle. In like 36 months, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. You've always got warranty. You don't have all those maintenance,
Because that's
those
another
expenses.
thing. I mean, during that term of this, not that you wouldn't have maintenance on the 36-month lease, but on the 72-month buy, you're going to have more maintenance as time goes on.
You're going to get into with tires. You're going to be getting in sets of tires. You're going to be just miscellaneous brakes and just
things
more
that a car
things
needs regardless.
Regardless, exactly, Jamie. So you just have to look at it. And if in this case here, let's say for instance a person's driving more than 12,000 miles, and the residual value or the payoff at the end in a 36-month lease is going to be $8,000 because the prices, the car is going to be worth less with more miles on it at the end. Then obviously their payment's going to go up.
Right.
But again, by doing that, they're paying a little bit every month instead of a big chunk at the end.
Okay.
And so many times, people, especially in new cars, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do, you can do, the consumer can do. It doesn't matter anymore if it's domestic, import. Pretty much when you drive a car off the lot, new car, it's
going to depreciate.
It depreciates.
Yeah.
And so this way, you're paying for your car properly over the period of time.
Okay.
With when a lease is structured properly.
On a used car, and I guess I didn't even realize that that used cars could be leased.
Absolutely.
What are the guidelines on that? I mean, obviously, I guess a chunk of that depreciation would be gone.
Oh, sure. You take an example like we had before in that slide, a $23,000 vehicle. maybe a year or so down the road might sell used with teen miles on it for, let's say, 13,000.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're starting at a starting point of 13,000, not 23,000.
Right.
Then there's, again, what they look at the historic values and percentages. Okay, what's that car worth 3 years from now, historically? And all of a sudden, if it's worth $8,000, then in that particular case, you're only paying back $5,000 plus the cost of money and interest,
right,
versus that previous one paying back $12,000.
Right.
And you're buying maybe you're leasing a 1-year-old car.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, then
that's like
you're leasing a new. In our particular case, at the dealership, where a lot of our vehicles are GM certified. So if we take a 1-year-old car that a big hit of the depreciation's already taken, the customer leases it, they still got 24 months or 24,000 miles warranty left, plus with the GM certified they get another 12-month 12,000 mile warranty, so they're getting 36 months 36,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty,
so they're back to where they started
on a, yes,
and the depreciation's gone,
and took a $10,000 depreciation,
right,
let someone else take the $10,000 depreciation, and all of a sudden their payments in half.
So most of the vehicles, if a used vehicle, are they still usually a relatively newer car?
Oh,
maybe
sure. I mean, you can take a 1 or 2 year old car that's just ideal.
Okay.
Absolutely ideal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yes, and you're looking at a car that maybe has, like I say, teen miles on it.
Are there? We talked about the residual values, and obviously from model to model, car to car, there's probably some vehicles with higher residuals.
Oh, absolutely. And
some with lower.
That's a good point you make, because a lot of cases people will say, okay, I'm out looking at a $25,000 vehicle, and they look at 5 different models of vehicles, and they're all $25,000,
right,
but they'll all lease differently.
And the customer might not understand that.
They might not understand it, because one of the factors is that residual value. What's the historically is that vehicle? How is that vehicle performed as resale on the used car market?
Right.
And the higher the resale, be the higher the residual, the lower the payment.
Okay.
If all of a sudden you get a vehicle that absolutely is $25,000 like the other ones, but just does not have a good resale value, and its residual value is much lower, then you're going to have a higher payment.
If someone knows that they really like the most oddball color of a car with some really unusual equipment and want to have it that way, that's something that should probably be thought about up front, because it's certainly going to affect the residual.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And fortunate thing is with the financial institutions and things, a lot of times colors and things like that don't come into play, but equipment and things really do, and because it's a lot of times they'll base it on percentages.
Okay.
And but that's an excellent point.
What